Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to Reading Through the Generations. My name is Precious and I wanted to jump on today just because it happens to be Portland Book Week. My family flew and drove into town. It just happened to coincide with Carol Van Strom's. She appears on all my bookish chat videos. She's an author and activist. She wrote a book back in the 70s called A Bitter Fog, Herbicides and Human Rights, and it details her and her community along the Oregon coast, their efforts and fight to prevent the aerial spraying of Agent Orange. And that story, it got made into a documentary film called The People versus Agent Orange, and it came out initially during COVID, and unfortunately it couldn't be premiered at that time. So Sierra Club graciously sponsored the release of the documentary throughout various theaters in Portland and in Eugene and Corvallis. And so yeah, my mom and sister flew in for that premiere, and Carol of course was here for it too. And for those of you who are interested, I'll leave some links down in the description below where you can watch the film and get more information. I filmed a Q&A. They had a panel discussion with the audience afterwards at all the premieres, and I filmed the one in Portland, and I'll leave a link on where you can listen and watch that if you're interested. But anyways, so the premiere coincided with the beginning of Portland Book Week, and this is a week-long celebration where I think more than 70 bookstores participated in it, and they had a book bingo, which I have right here. We had so much fun planning out our days and trying to be strategic about which shops would get us a bingo, and we managed to not only get one, not two, but 3 bingos. So it was very exciting. And so I wanted to talk about the books that I had purchased at some special used bookshops that we all fell in love with. So the first bookstore we went to was Belmont Books, which is in Southeast Portland, and it's on the lower level of Tin House Books, which is a local publishing house. And we got a Portland Book Week bookmark, which I love, and the first, their stamp was an oak leaf, and we got stamped. The spot that we got stamped was a bookstore where you bought a book for a friend. And so my mom wanted this book, Goddess of the Americas. She said I could share it with you guys. And this, it sounds like it's a collection of essays and poetry, fictional works, historical writings from various authors, such as a few that stand out to me are Sandra Cisneros, who wrote The House on Mango Street. Who else stands out to me? Elena Poniatowska. I think she wrote The Mexico City Massacre. And then a couple more, Rosario Castellanos, Denise Chavez, Liliana Valenzuela, I think she's a translator, Francisco Alarcón, Luis Alfaro, Gloria Anzaldúa, just to name a couple. And it says, Goddess of the Americas is a prismatic study and an impassioned, unorthodox celebration of the Virgin of Guadalupe, the Brown Madonna, patron saint of Mexico, protector of the downtrodden, who made her first appearance on American soil in 1531. This volume examines the impact this potent deity has had on the people and culture of Mexico and her influence beyond that country in Latin America, North America, and Europe. So this, I think she already started reading it, but I looked through it and it sounds very, very fascinating. And then one she got for me is one by Elizabeth Gaskell. This has two stories. This has Cousin Phyllis and Cranford in it. And I don't know, all I know is that I adore North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. That's one of my all-time favorite books, and I'm saving this for Victober this year just because I want to read more of Gaskell's work. I just find her writing beautiful, so this will be fun to read in October. Staying in the southeast area, we then went to Backstory Books and Yarn, which is a very sweet little shop. That's a hybrid bookstore. Her stamp was a ladybug. I don't know if you can see that. This one right here. And this got us the spot, sells yarn. Amanda, the owner, was lovely. She even had a vintage cash register. It was great. My sister got some yarn to make a blanket for a friend who is expecting a baby, and I found a special book by Sylvia Townsend Warner. She's one of my favorite authors. This is Winter in the Air. Look at this stunning cover and the back. This is going to be a perfect read throughout December and January. It's a short story collection. I love her novels, The True Heart and Lolly Willows, and I've never read her short fiction before, and it has gorgeous French flaps. It's just stunning. It doesn't have any illustrations on the inside, but that's okay. I think her words are gorgeous. And it says, witty and subversive, the stories in Winter in the Air meld tradition and transgression with secret sins and fetishes, as much a feature of English life as eccentric aunts, country houses, and parish churches. Amanda gave us a bookmark, and I just want to read this opening paragraph from the story, A Passing Weakness. It says, during the summer holiday season, strangers would sometimes come halfway up the avenue, thinking that a house with such chimney stacks must be either a hotel or a youth hostel. But at the turn where the total inhospitality of Bendish Hall stared them in the face, they beat a retreat, scolded by the squirrels overhead. The squirrels were the indigenous red English squirrels. Horace Winterton piqued himself on this. His country was going to the dogs. His house was falling to pieces. The nephew who would inherit after him had settled in New Zealand, vowing never to return. But at least there were no interloping gray squirrels in his trees. After visiting Backstory Books and Yarn, we then went to another secondhand bookstore called Bingo Used Books. And at this place, the owner was giving an additional half off to all his books just for this whole week of in celebration of Book Week. And I found so many Newberry's winners and honors, and beginning with one by Christopher Paul Curtis, which I loved, The Watsons Go to Birmingham. This is Bud, Not Buddy. And I believe this is about an orphan who runs away from his foster home. I think he's been in a couple and not had the best experience. And so his mother, before she passes, has left him with some family heirlooms. And there is a photograph of a man with a trumpet, and he believes this to be his father, and so he runs away in search of him. And I think this is going to be, I love Christopher Paul Curtis's writing, and I think I'm going to love this one. And an example of Christopher's writing. I'm not bragging when I say that I'm one of the best liars in the world, but I gotta tell you, Todd was pretty doggone good. It seemed like he knew some of the same things I know, the things I think of all the time and try to remember so I don't make the same mistake more than 7 or 8 times. Shucks, I've got so many of them rememorized that I had to give them numbers, and it seemed like Todd knew number 3 of Bud Caldwell's rules and things for having a funner life and making a better liar out of yourself. And the rules are rules and things number 3. If you gotta tell a lie, make sure it's simple and easy to remember. And then for the Newbery Honors, I found Wolf Hollow. I've never heard of this author, Lauren Wolk. And this one's, on the inside it says, growing up in the shadows cast by 2 world wars, Annabelle has lived a mostly quiet, steady life in her small Pennsylvania town, until the day new student Betty Glengarry walks into her class. Betty quickly reveals herself to be cruel and manipulative, and while her bullying seems isolated at first, things quickly escalate, and reclusive World War I veteran Toby becomes a target of her attacks. While others have always seen Toby's strangeness, Annabelle knows only kindness. Soon she will need to find the courage to stand as a lone voice of justice as tensions mount. And we were given a bookmark for the Rose City Book Fair, which I believe is happening the 14th and 15th this weekend. And this one says in the prologue, the year I turned 12, I learned how to lie. I don't mean the small fibs that children tell. I mean real lies fed by real fears. Things I said and did that took me out of the life I'd always known and put me down hard into a new one. It was the autumn of 1943 when my steady life began to spin. Not only because of the war that had drawn the whole world into a screaming brawl, but also because of the dark-hearted girl who came to our hills and changed everything. So that's Wolf Hollow. And then another author that I've always wanted to read from is Sharon Creech. And this is a gorgeous book, a Newbery Honor, The Wanderer. I love this embossed dolphin underneath the dust jacket. And this one says, 13-year-old Sophie is the only girl amongst the surly crew of the Wanderer, made up of 3 uncles and 2 cousins. They sail across the Atlantic toward England, the land of Bompey, her grandfather. The sea calls to Sophie, promising adventure and the chance to explore and discover. But the personal journey she takes brings her deeper into a forgotten past than she ever knew she could travel to. So I think this will be perfect to read this summer. And there's woodblock illustrations throughout. Let me try to find another one for you. Here's some more. The opening paragraph says, the sea, the sea, the sea, it rolled and rolled and called to me. Come in, it said, come in. And in I went, floating, rolling, splashing, swimming, and the sea called out, "Come out, come out." And further I went, but always it swept me back to shore. And still the sea called, "Come out, come out," and in boats I went, in rowboats and dinghies and motorboats, and after I learned to sail, I flew over the water with only the sounds of the wind, and the water and the birds, all of them calling, "Sail on, sail on." I'm gonna love this. And then I found a copy of Mandy by none other Julie Andrews. And it sounds like a very sweet book about a little girl who also escapes an orphanage. And it says, Mandy discovers a tiny deserted cottage in the woods. All through the spring, summer, and fall, Mandy works to make it truly hers. Sometimes she borrows things she needs from the orphanage. Sometimes to guard her secret, she even lies. Then, one stormy night at the cottage, Mandy gets sick and no one knows how to find her. Oh. So this is going to be lovely, and this one is also illustrated. Look at the spring cover, sweet hedgehog. This is going to be a great seasonal read. Then we went to a couple stores that sold new books, and I think I'm going to do that in a separate video, as my sister bought more new books than I did, and hopefully she'll feel like doing that video together with me. So we then headed over to Oregon City, and we visited Lori's Book Exchange, which sadly they are going out of business, so everything was 75% off. And but I spoke to the owner, and it sounded like they were donating all their books to women's shelters and prisons throughout Oregon. So yeah, all the books were going to find good homes. And I found a Western called Deadwood by Pete Dexter. And this one is a historical fiction set during the gold rush in a real town, Deadwood, that is in South Dakota, I believe. And it follows some famous gunslingers such as Wild Bill and Calamity Jane. I remember the show, gosh, that was more than 20 years ago, I think. But I never realized that it was based on a book, and I think I'm going to save this for a Christmas gift to my dad. And if the book is anything like the show, I think he'll really enjoy it for the dark sense of humor. And then I found a Carola Dunn book. I think this is one of her mystery series, and it says on the back, in March of 1926, Daisy Dalrymple Fletcher and her friend and collaborator Lucy head off to spend a few days at a stately home reputed to have the best grotto in the country. They are working on a book of follies, the architectural kind that is, and plan to use the weekend to research and photograph. Once at the estate, Daisy and Lucy find themselves faced with a curious assortment of people, as tensions between the guests steadily rise, with long-held secrets and resentments threatening the thin remaining layer of civility. Even the ever-observant Daisy couldn't predict the deadly events to come. So that's sheer folly. I love the cover. I like Carola Dunn. I really look forward to this one. I'm just looking on my bookstore bingo. So bingo used books. We got The Spot, a bookstore we've never been to before, stamped. And then we headed on over to Beaverton, and I think that was called the Bookish the Book Corner, which was an adorable used bookstore right by this park there, and it was filled with students because it was their last day, and in honor of both Book Week and the last day of school, their children's and YA books were all buy one get one free. So I had to take advantage of that deal, and I found 2 books. I got The Only Road by Alexandra Diaz, and this sounds like a heartbreaking one, but I think it's an important book. It says, Jamie is sitting on his bed drawing when he hears a scream. Instantly he knows Miguel, his cousin and best friend, is dead. Everyone in Jamie's small town in Guatemala knows someone who has been killed by the Alphas, a powerful gang that's known for violence and drug trafficking. Anyone who refuses to work for them is hurt or killed, like Miguel. With Miguel gone, Jamie fears that he is next. There's only one choice. Accompanied by his cousin Angela, Jamie must flee his home to live with his older brother in the United States. And I think this is based on a true account. So that is The Only Road. And then I found As Brave as You by Jason Reynolds. And this one sounds like it's going to be absolutely charming. It says, scooping poop at his grandparents' house, that sure as heck wasn't the way 11-year-old Jeannie expected to be spending his summer. But when his parents send him and his big brother Ernie to Virginia to experience the great, not in exclamation points in parentheses, outdoors, they're in for some big surprises. Yeah, so that is As Brave as You, and it looks like it won numerous awards. So, yeah. And we got stickers too. We got I Love My Indie Bookstore. And we got a bookworm sticker that says I Read Banned Books. And that was our first bingo. Those are all the books that I was fortunate enough to find at several lovely secondhand bookshops. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take good care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.